One dev built a free screen studio. 26,000 stars. Nobody is talking about it. So there's a solo dev named Sid who apparently just built a free version of Screen Studio, completely open source under MIT, and the repo quietly crossed 26,000 stars without most people noticing. Screen Studio, if you haven't used it, charges $89 for a one-time license or $29 a month for the subscription, and it's genuinely great software for making polished product demos. But Sid just shipped an Electron app that does most of the same stuff. Record your screen with automatic zooms, add annotations, trim and speed up sections, export at any resolution, and it costs exactly nothing. The project went from 0 to 26,000 stars in about 5 months, has over 1,700 forks, and just hit version 1.3.0 a week ago. Let me show you what's actually in it. Let me walk you through the repo, because there's more here than the description suggests. Right up top you've got the beta warning, which is honest. Sid says straight up that things might be buggy, but he hopes you have a good experience. Below that is the OpenScreen logo and the tagline, your free open-source alternative to Screen Studio. The description is refreshingly honest too. He says it's not a one-to-one clone. It's a simpler version for people who want the basics and don't want to pay. Then you get to these app preview screenshots, and this is where you start to see how polished the thing actually is. That's a real screen recording editor with a mountain wallpaper background, zoom controls, a timeline at the bottom. The whole thing looks like a commercial product. Scroll down further and you hit the core features list, which covers window and full screen recording, auto and manual zooms, audio capture, cropping, motion blur, annotations, trimming, speed control, and multi-resolution export. Below that is the installation section, which is worth noting because it works on Mac, Linux, and Windows, all from the same releases page. And at the very bottom you get the built with section showing the actual tech stack, Electron, React, TypeScript, Vite, PCJS, and D&D timeline. Before I get into the feature breakdown, let me explain why this thing matters beyond just being free. Screen recording software has been weirdly expensive for what it does. OBS is free, but it's designed for streaming, not product demos, and the learning curve is steep. Loom is cloud-based and starts charging once you need longer videos or team features. Screen Studio is genuinely excellent, but $89 is a real ask for an indie dev who just wants to record a quick demo of their app. What Sid built fills a gap that's been annoying people for years, a local-first screen recorder that makes your recordings look good without requiring a subscription or sending your footage to a server. Here's the quick spec sheet. 26,000 stars in 5 months, which is genuinely fast growth for a dev tool. Over 1,700 forks, meaning people are actually building on top of it. 30 contributors actively merging PRs, including community translations and bug fixes landing daily. And it's MIT licensed, which means you can use it commercially, modify it, redistribute it, no strings attached. The core recording features are more capable than you'd expect from a free tool. You can record a specific window or your entire screen, which sounds basic, but the window capture mode is actually smart about tracking the window even when it moves or resizes. The standout feature is the zoom system, and this is where PCJS earns its keep. You can set up automatic zooms that follow your cursor based on telemetry data. So when you click on something important in your demo, the camera smoothly punches in without you having to keyframe anything manually. Or you can place manual zoom markers on the timeline with adjustable depth levels if you want more control. There's also full audio capture, both your microphone and system audio simultaneously, which took a while to get right across all 3 platforms because Electron's desktop capture has different quirks on Mac versus Linux versus Windows. The editing and export side is where it starts feeling like a proper commercial product. You can crop your recordings to hide parts of the screen, add text and arrow annotations, trim sections out of the middle, and control the playback speed of individual segments using a dedicated speed track on the timeline. The background system gives you wallpapers, solid colors, gradients, or a custom image. Plus there's motion blur that smooths out the pan and zoom transitions so they don't look janky. And the export options cover multiple aspect ratios and resolutions, so you can record once and export for both a YouTube video and an Instagram reel from the same project. Version 1.2 also added Save As Project, so you can come back to an edit later instead of losing everything when you close the app. Under the hood, the whole thing is built on Electron with React and TypeScript, bundled through Vite for fast dev iteration. The rendering engine is PCJS, which is the same WebGL library that powers a lot of browser-based games, and that's what makes the zoom animations and motion blur feel fluid instead of choppy. The timeline is built on D&D Timeline, a drag-and-drop React library, which handles all the zoom marker placement and speed segment controls. The export pipeline moved away from frame-based seeking in version 1.2, which is why exports got significantly faster. And the whole thing is structured well enough that 30 different contributors have been able to ship meaningful PRs, including a complete localization system that already covers Chinese, English, Spanish, French, and Turkish, all added through community pull requests in the last few weeks. Installing is dead simple. On Mac, you grab the .dmg from the releases page and drag it to applications. There's one extra step because it doesn't have a paid developer certificate, so you need to run an xadder command to clear the quarantine flag, then grant screen recording and accessibility permissions in system settings. On Linux, you download the app image, make it executable, and run it. On Windows, it's a standard installer. The whole setup takes about 60 seconds on any platform. Version 1.3 dropped on April 2nd, and it's a solid update. The big additions are Undo Redo, which honestly should have been there from the start, but better late than never, plus webcam support in both vertical and picture-in-picture mode, which is huge for anyone recording tutorials or walkthroughs where you want your face in the corner. They also added transparent background support, so if you set your padding to 0 and pick native aspect ratio, you get a clean transparent export, which is useful for compositing into other tools. And the community-driven localization system now ships with Chinese, English, and Spanish out of the box, with French and Turkish landing through PRs this week. There are also some important bug fixes for audio desync and speed issues, plus path resolution problems on Windows that were breaking exports for some users. So who should actually download this and start using it? If you're an indie dev who ships product demos or changelogs, and you've been either screen recording raw with QuickTime or paying for a tool you don't fully use, this is probably exactly what you need. If you make tutorials or documentation videos and you want that smooth zoom follow cursor look without learning After Effects, the auto zoom feature alone is worth the install. If you're a content creator on a budget who needs polished screen recordings for YouTube or social media, this gives you the Screen Studio look without the Screen Studio price. And if you're a developer who wants to contribute to a fast-growing open-source project, the codebase is TypeScript and React. The maintainer is actively merging community PRs, and there are 99 open issues right now with feature requests and bugs to pick from. Okay, let's be real about the trade-offs. It's still in beta, and the maintainer says so right at the top of the README, so expect rough edges and breaking changes between releases. There's no paid developer certificate, which means Mac users have to deal with the gatekeeper quarantine dance on first install, and that's going to scare off less technical people. System audio capture has platform-specific quirks, especially on older Mac OS versions and Linux without Pipewire. And it's explicitly not a one-to-one Screen Studio clone. So if you need the most advanced features like the really fine-grained cursor smoothing or the SVG background integration, you'll still want the paid tool. But here's the thing. This is a real project, shipping real releases every few weeks, with a growing community of 30 contributors and over 1,700 forks. Sid went from his first open-source commit 5 months ago to 26,000 stars, MIT license, cross-platform support, and a feature set that covers what most people actually need. If you record demos or tutorials in 2026 and you haven't at least tried this, you're leaving a free tool on the table. Link is in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you tomorrow.